us into prisoners. The world we live in it, them turn us into prisoners. Don't want to lose my faith on here, prisoners.
The nature of religious liberty. We can view religious liberty in light of a group of people living in a house and disputing what is the best wake-up time in the morning for everyone. Freedom to choose wake-up time is the issue here. Freedom to choose wake-up time is like religious liberty, right to choose your own religion. One wants to wake up at 8:30, another at 9, for example, and another at 11:45. In the house, there is an individual who is a son of a farmer who has no problem waking up at 4:30 in the morning. They all could together decide one wake-up time for everyone in the house. If the leader of the house, such as a coach, a parent, a guardian, decides the wake-up time, then the group have no say in the matter. A voice of authority decides the wake-up time. This would be a situation where wake-up time is dictated by the leader of the house. What if each member of the house has the right to choose his or her preferred wake-up time? Here we have three possible methods of solving the wake-up time issue. 1. The group reach to a consensus of a wake-up time. 2. One with authority like a parent, a coach, decide on a wake-up time for everyone. And the third, each person decide his or her own wake-up time. If the goal is to acknowledge the desire of each lodger, then the third method would be the appropriate one, where everyone decides his or her own wake-up time. Let us say wake-up time is called wake-up liberty. Wake-up liberty. Now we have a challenge, which is one person's wake-up time may interfere with the sleep of others. They might disturb the sleep of others to the point where a noisy riser wakes up the entire house. Now his wake-up time becomes the wake-up time for everyone in the house. For fairness, wake-up liberty rules say the rising person must do so without waking or disturbing the sleep of the other lodgers. Wake-up liberty rules also state that no lodger has the right to prevent or interfere with the wake-up of another. Everyone has the right to end their rest or sleep and start their day whenever he or she chooses, providing they do so without disturbing the sleep of the others in the house. The above is an illustration of how religious liberty ought to work in a society where people have various and even conflicting religious views. If the goal is true religious liberty, if it's true religious liberty that we try to attain, like as in the case of wake-up liberty, each must be able to choose their religion and has society protect the right to practice that religion or practice their faith. As it relates to religious liberty for the church, Christians should have the right to choose the Christian faith and heed the teachings of the Holy Bible without the interference of society or anyone from another religion. Because if it is true religious liberty, then you must give the citizens the right to practice their religion. In the United States of America, for example, if you go back to the 1600s, the arrival of the Pilgrims and Puritan, they fled religious persecution in Europe. They sought for religious liberty in a new part of the world, a place that they can believe in God and study the Bible and declare the Christian faith without the fear of being persecuted. For the church and individual Christian convert, when true religious liberty is a goal, society or the nation in which those Christians live, that nation must reserve those Christians. That nation must grant them the right to heed the biblical teachings as the foundation to their Christian faith. If you take the Bible from the Christians, then it's not true religious liberty, because you now are deciding their religion. The First Amendment of the American Constitution addresses religious liberty, where Congress was not allowed, or it was stated that Congress is not allowed to decide a religion for the people or interfere with their religious fervency or their desire to be religious, regardless of how foolish you may think one's religion is. According to the American Constitution, he or she has the right to their religious faith. When logically translated, religious liberty is your country acknowledge the Christian church as an independent and sovereign religious community, which autonomously establishes its beliefs and values and accordingly decides the way of life of every Christian member. In other words, the society must acknowledge the church's right to decide who they are as a faith group and the way of life that they see appropriate for that given community. Understandably, anyone who joins the church should have the right and protection of the church. And again, does the church have the right to be what the Bible says it should be? Your country, if it's true religious liberty, will allow you to be a Christian or to be the Christian community the Bible says you should be. Pertinently, I ask, is religious liberty possibly in the New Europe, the New World? By the New Europe, I mean the humanistic, anti-Bible, ideological 21st century European society. In other words, the European society, the modern European society, circumvent the Bible or seek to remove the Bible from the heart of the Christian faith, or even worse, declare that you can be Christian, but with modified thinking, with modified values. You can be Christians, but we reserve the right to modify some of the teachings of the Bible. Then it is not true biblical teaching. So is biblically defined Christianity or Christian faith possible in the modern world? And in particular Europe. Section 2, the challenge to religious liberty and holiness in Europe. Is biblically defined Christianity possible in new ideological Europe? Can you be the Christian cave? Can the church be the Christian community of faith the Bible dictates that it should be in the new Europe? Is that possible? I address the challenge of true religious liberty in the present day and modern world as follows. One, are the new European ideology and biblically defined Christianity irreconcilable? Can Christians live the way the Bible says that they should live, and at the same time take residence in Europe? To be more specific, does the European society allow Christians to practice their Christian faith according to the Bible? Are we allowed as Christians to believe and behave as the Bible teaches? When Christianity, or when biblical Christianity is at conflict with modern European values, then the Christian community of faith must have religious and cultural autonomy. In other words, since our belief system, since our value system, since a church that follows the Bible cannot coexist or share in the European culture, then they need religious and cultural autonomy, which means they must be allowed to, or given the right to exist independent of mainstream European culture. So that is number 2. So first, you have a clash in two belief and value system. The biblical Christian value system and the modern European value system. They are irreconcilable. And if they are irreconcilable, then the church needs religious and cultural independence to exist independently of the mainstream society. Third, if it's a case where Europe or the modern world refuses the Christian community autonomy or the right to define its faith according to the Bible, then the Christian church, Christian believers, the Christian church or the Christian faith according to the Bible will face prohibition, which means the outlaw biblical Christian faith and traditions. To be more specific, we will not allow you to believe and practice what the Bible says. Because again, these two belief systems, these two value systems are at conflict. One is the antithesis of the other. When society refuses the church the right to define its faith according to the Bible, the biblical Christian faith will face prohibition. That is to outlaw the Bible and the teachings that it lays out for Christians. 4, when the society prohibits or bans or outlaw the biblical faith, then those Christians who refuse to abandon the biblical way of life, those Christians will face persecution. Again, the four thoughts are: 1, do we have two ideas or two moral and value system? Do we have two ideological? If we have two that are irreconcilable from an ideological standpoint, then in this case where the church is at conflict with, church and Christian values according to the Bible are at conflict with the modern European society and its new ideology, when they are irreconcilable, then the church must have independence, the right to decide its own values and beliefs, independent of the mainstream society or mainstream culture. The third is that if society refuses the church this right of autonomy to independently exist, then they are going to ban or outlaw Christianity that teaches biblical principles, biblical truths, biblical laws. The fourth is, when that is the case, those Christians who continue in the biblical Christian tradition, they will face persecution. And we may argue that is starting to happen in Europe. We have a case recently in Finland where the speech or the right of a Christian believer was challenged. Do you have the right to say what you think according to your faith? And the High Court of Finland decides that her argument, the High Court decided that this parliament member, former parliament member, what she said or did did not constitute hate speech. So it appears Finland set a precedent where Christians are allowed to a certain extent to say and to disagree with part of ideas or practices of modern Europe. Is biblically defined Christianity possible in the new Europe? That's part 2.
Them turn us into prisoners. The world we're living in, them turn us into prisoners. Don't want to lose.